Welcome back to Over the Shoulder. This is our special Kwanzaa edition. We so far had 5 amazing guests on 5 days. We're on day 6. Day 6 is Kuumba. Kuumba means creativity. And when I think about creativity, the first person that comes to mind is my guest. She is the dopest creator that I know. The way her eyes work and how she can just see things that are unseen and then put it together to actually make it like a masterpiece in front of her eyes. Literally right before we hit the record button, I just saw her do it in 5 minutes and I'm still a little awestruck of it. And it's a pleasure to have her on. The lovely, the great, the brilliant Korissonah.
Well, I appreciate that amazing intro. That was great.
Yes. So creativity. So when you think of the word creativity, just what comes to that mind of yours?
Flow state.
Flow state.
Flow state comes to mind when I think of creativity. That's because that's what I feel like it is, honestly.
Expand on what flow state is.
Flow state is where skill meets challenge. So you're able to, it's not challenging to the point to where you can't do it, but it's enough to keep you stimulated and keep you activated and going. And to me, that's what creativity is like. Just looking at things is certain enough to make me think, but not enough to lose interest.
Enough to make me think, but not enough to make me lose interest. Wow. I love that. That's great. Yes. Okay, so were you always a creative kid, creative child? Has this always been something?
Yeah, I was like, all of my AP classes and stuff were art classes. I've always either been in the corner with like a book or drawing something or painting or sewing or making jewelry or with a camera. Like it's just always been my thing.
Always been your thing. Wow, that's beautiful. So do you ever find it hard to like create? Do you get blocked or?
Absolutely. As of recently, I've only been creating for clients and stuff. I haven't taking the time to make something that is going to make me feel good. You got a glimpse of that before this. That's me preparing for something to paint. And I'm actually really excited about it because I feel like I've been blocked for a very long time. And I've just been stuck in a serious work mode. And I have gotten to experience creativity through that, but I haven't experienced that full flow state that I was talking about earlier.
So how do you unblock? Like when you're blocked, I think that's a big thing that I think a lot of creatives suffer from.
I think it's a matter of literally just doing it. And that's for me personally. I feel like sometimes I procrastinate on things when I know I'm blocked or something that I know that I have fear with or that's going to be a bit challenging. And I'm realizing the best way to get through that is to literally just do it, face it head on. So yeah, that's what I'm planning to do now. Just jump in there, get the canvas, just do it. I have this thing where I anticipate stuff, and then once I actually do it, I'm just like, oh my God, this is great. Why was I not like doing this? What was the hesitation for? So I know it's literally just a little hill to get over. And once the momentum gets going, like it'll all be back to normal.
I love that. So one of the things I like to tell people about Kwanzaa is that Kwanzaa is a principle about building community. It's like each day is about another building block on how to build community. So we're on day 6 with creativity. This is like after you go through the first 5 days of like building that version of them, which are unity, self-determination, collective works and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose. So after you find your purpose, then you can kind of put the creative spin on it. So it's like a lot of times, I think specifically for Black people, we try to start with creativity. We try to start there and we don't actually know all the other things. We don't know. So I think that's why we have a lot of lost music right now, a lot of lost art, because we haven't figured out like the purpose for why are we trying to tell this story? What's the voice we're trying to tell it in? And it's like, it's not that the creativity is lacking. Is that the purpose behind that is not
it's the thoughts. It's a lot of feeling and not enough thinking. That's the issue that's coming up here.
Yes, because we've never, as a community, we've never had a problem with creativity. Never.
It's in us.
It's in us. That's the one thing everyone knows. You come over here, it's gonna be a vibe. That's what people know. So no one ever says that we're not creative people, but it's what are we creating and what's that purpose and thought behind it. So with looking at Kwanzaa and how to build like a functional, sustaining community, I tell people that it works on 3 different levels. So like obviously you can build a community on a macro level, like a global, like we're all humans type of situation. We're, having a little trouble over the past, 1,000 years with that. But then when we most of the time think of community, we think of something like friendship. We think of the people who are around you and all that. But I tell people the most important thing of building the community is in self. All of these principles go within self. You have to be unified in self. You have to be self-determined. You have to be collective and take responsibility for your actions. You have to like invest in yourself, spend within yourself. You have to have your own purpose. And then creativity comes within yourself. If you're not creating for yourself, for the things that you want to do, if you're just creating for everybody else, like you're going to start feeling drained and feel that, your cup is not running. It's empty. So how do you make sure that you always fill your cup in creativity?
The first thing that came to my mind was gratitude. Just the ability to have the lifestyle that I do and being able to see things that I do. Sometimes creativity isn't always making something. Sometimes it's just the way that I view things. Certain times like when I see people, I don't always see people regularly. I see them in the sense of me drawing them in proportions. Sometimes when I'm watching a situation or whatnot, it's playing back as a movie. Or if I'm hearing something, like earlier, I was listening to, it was Minister Farrakhan, he was playing the violin. And it was by far the most beautiful thing that I have heard all year. And I literally had a story just playing in my head the whole time. And it was great. I feel like the best way to just keep the creativity going is to keep my mind open and to not limit things to just me using my hands to make stuff. Like, my mind is probably the place where I can be most creative. I'm limitless there. I don't have to actually know how to do anything or build anything. I can literally just think of something and have it come up in my head. So just with a lot of the things that I've been learning lately and practicing, keeping my mind open is how I stay connected to the creativity.
Wow. Stay connected to the creativity. So I do feel like when you think about creativity in the grand scheme of things, it's almost like, so we think about creativity, the root word there is create. So create is like, what other species on this planet actually creates? That you can argue that, maybe they create a home, maybe they build dams and stuff like that, but
not the same.
But it's not the same. We have to me, that's what separates us from the animals.
It's exactly what separates us from the animals. From the sun, from the stars, as great as they are, they cannot think and pull things from their mind into reality like we can.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's almost like we can think of like the source. We're going back to the source, so it's like the creating part. So that's why I say, to me, this day, 6th day and stuff like that, it's something that we're just so naturally dope at it that we just do it. But it's like, this is the thing that it should be most purpose driven by. It should be something, just because we're naturally great at it, it's like almost you're 15 years old and you're already 6'8" and you can dunk. All right, that's great. But like, are you actually gonna try to take that skill to the next level? Are you actually gonna work day and night, keep going, like, tirelessly expand it. Like,
and you might as well, because it comes to you so easily. You already have that flow to it. So why not, challenge yourself so you can, the more you challenge yourself, the better you're gonna get. But if there's no, tug or pull at all, you'll always be stuck in that same space and you'll never really get to experience the fulfillment of the creativity if you don't, push a bit.
With us, with our generation, it feels like, I've been telling everyone this, it feels like we've taken on the task of breaking generational curses. Like, that's become like, I feel like that's the mantra of like,
it is.
This generation. It's just like, the same thing that our parents were doing, our grandparents were it's over, time's up on that. However, I like to think about, when I hear the words and phrase put together, generational curse. First of all, curse is not something that is just like, okay, I'm having a bad time. It's like, no. It's been bad times. It's a bad life. It's been bad lives.
It's a big It's like a commitment to.
Yes, someone like, if someone curses you, that means that person who curses you is just committed to always making sure bad energy is coming your way. Yeah. That's a lot of them having to worry about what you're doing on a day-to-day. Generational? Now that means it's not just them worrying about it. It's like we've been attacking you for
generations.
Centuries. Then so it's just like we have taken on a mantra of we're breaking generational curses. So I ask people, like, think about that mindset. Like, what does it take to actually break a generational curse? So from your perspective, what does it take to break a generational curse?
It takes a new mind to break generational curses. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a new answer. And we know that what's been going on has been produced by, the same type of thinking. So I feel like that's the number one thing. State of mind, the way you think, the things that you are feeding your mind, all of that plays a part into, changing the way we think, changing the way we process things. We're just able to move from a better standpoint, a more effective standpoint. The mind is where it all starts.
That's very true. So for me, creativity is it's the most fun day. It's the most fun time, but I think it's also the most vital of the days. Because when you create something, you can change the mindset. You can create something that makes us think completely different ways. I always tell people that Black Panther changed the way African Americans view being related to that Africa part of African Americans. Like, beforehand you think about, like, we're not really happy. Like, I mean, we kind of like, we called people Native Africans. We would call them, I know everyone can remember calling African booty scratchers or these very derogatory names.
It wasn't anything people wanted to be attached to.
We didn't want to be attached to. We're thinking hutch, we're thinking tribalism, we're thinking all this, stuff that we feel is inferior to what we have, or we're just not ashamed of our past and stuff like that. Because, a lot of shame has been put into us about our past. But then like you would see the people who wear the dashikis. You had that group of people who wore it. You had the people who wore the kente cloth, but it was always like they were low-key a laughing stock. Like, they was kind of like,
They were called Hotep.
Yeah, Hotep, you're like, oh, you a Hotep person and all this kind of stuff.
Which is crazy because literally, like, our ancestors.
It's up, but it's us being ashamed of the past. Yeah. But then a movie created and showed all the beauty of the several different African cultures and like all this stuff, and then connected us to that past.
It shifted the paradigm.
And then suddenly you see, people wearing regular people wearing dashikis, celebrities wearing dashikis, celebrities wearing kente cloth, people wanting to, travel back to Africa, wanting to see, and then we see all these lies that we've been fed, and it's like you see, well, there are ghettos here and there are going to be huts there, but there's also skyscrapers here and there's beautiful buildings there and there's beautiful architecture and there's all this kind of stuff just from these very different perspectives that we just never even could expand our brain to believe were there because we just were holding on to an old mindset. So a movie that was created by someone who's very intentional and purposeful in the message that he wanted to deliver changed the paradigm of how we were thinking as a people in the States. And so I tell people that's the power of creativity. You want to change the culture, you want to change all that stuff. What's the art that we're creating? What's the music that we're creating? What's the movies that we're creating? What's the media, the social, like, we all love laughing, but like, is the laughing based upon a greater purpose? Are we actually trying to heal based upon the laughing? If we're making a drama, are we trying to heal through our drama? If we're showing street life, are we showing the beauty of street life, this beauty of the struggles and how we can triumph and overcome? Like, it should all be a journey of healing, or else we're going to be in the same trauma that the previous generation was in.
We don't have the luxury of being able to just, create stuff for the sake of it. We've seen what some of our creations can do to our community as far as music, as far as TV, literally anything that gives people a visual representation. We've seen what happens when it's negative and what it does to the youth and whatnot. So, I just totally agree on that. It's a privilege and it's a responsibility, and people should definitely see it as such, because we are being able to see something that's literally like putting things, that's programming people, whether they understand it or not. And depending on that programming, that's gonna change their paradigm. That's gonna change the way they think about themselves, about their community, about literally life. It matters, and I don't think people realize how important just the media and programming and all that stuff is. It makes a huge difference. And honestly, if we take charge and really like be intentional with the things that we create and put in front of each other in our youth, we could quantum leap into something way better. And we can also put ourselves way back if we continue on the route that we're on.
Okay, so final thing. Tell me something that you have not created yet, but you plan on creating. What is this project that you plan on creating, but hasn't been created yet by you?
So you want to sneak peek into the vault?
I want to sneak peek into the vault.
An experience. And yeah. I've had this idea for a while, and it's been shifting. But I had a bit more inspiration today when I was listening to what I was telling you about earlier, the violin. An experience, art that people can come and listen to and see and touch, vibrations. I want to create an experience that people can come and leave with, if that makes sense. Not just something, I don't want to just say not just something, because movies and regular art and all of that is just as important. But this thing that I'm thinking of is something like interactive art in a sense. And yeah, you will be hearing more of that when it is time.
Okay, because next Kwanzaa, I'm gonna have a follow-up episode, and I'm gonna ask you, where this experience, where we at on it, So.
Yeah, I'll have some things.
I know you will. It's gonna be, might even be done at that point. We might be doing the Kwanzaa episode inside of the experience.
Who knows?
We'll see. But I do thank you so much for having this conversation, coming on, and lending yourself your time, and just you to this podcast Over the Shoulder.
I appreciate you for having me here and for doing this, for taking charge of the media that you're putting out. This is really important, and I respect you for taking that responsibility to putting stuff out for your people series.
I appreciate that. To the audience, this is Over the Shoulder, the special Kwanzaa edition. This was day 6, Kuumba, which means creativity. And as I always say on this show, that's a wrap.